Kirsty and Simon, each one will chime in, talking on their podcast, Stress Pubs Rock and Roll.
Alright, welcome to Stress Pubs Rock and Roll, Season 2. At some point I'm going to stop saying Season 2, because it clearly is Season 2, but it's Season 2, Episode 2.
Yeah, well, we might
Still
have
think it's fresh.
back listeners.
Back listeners.
Yeah.
Is that what they're called?
I don't know.
Backwards listeners.
No, not backwards. I'd like to say we don't think any of you are backwards. That's so mean.
You said it.
I said back listeners, like as in listening back to previous. Yeah, rude.
Welcome to Episode 2.
Welcome.
In Season 2. How you doing? I'm Simon.
I'm Kirsty.
If you haven't listened to us before, that's how we always start. So we've got a new sponsor for this season.
Yes.
Very excited. Our sponsor this season is Beyond the Download. Vinyl music shop, local to us, but they've got a website anyone can purchase, so you don't have to be in the local area. So thanks for your support. If you want to check out their website, beyondthedownload.uk. Some pretty cool stuff. Loads of cool vinyl. Oh, they've got stuff for musicians like guitar. They're always good for like guitar strings, straps, t-shirts, all that kind of stuff. It's like proper old school
old school.
Anything to do with like they've got jukeboxes in there and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's cute.
So we love a bit of that. So thanks for your support. How you been diddling? All right.
Yeah, that's my water bottle rattling because I've actually got a dry throat because, I don't know, it's cold and miserable, isn't it?
It is a rubbish time of year. I'm like, so we've sort of stockpiling a couple of episodes, so I don't know when this is going to come out, but I'm guessing Feb.
So it's still going to be cold.
But right now it's early Jan, and I'm determined not to moan about being ill this year. I feel like I did a lot of, I'm ill, I've got a cold. I ain't doing it this year, so I'm going to be positive. But the reality is, it's now like the 11th of Jan, and I've been ill for the majority of the days this year. So I'm not moaning about it. It's a fact though. I haven't started the year in very good. I had tonsillitis.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like proper about 106 degree temperature and
you didn't tell me
shizzle
that
like
before
that.
I come round.
Oh no, I'm fine now. Yeah, I've just got mild kind of STDs, but if you're sitting there that side of the sofa, you're fine.
Cool.
Just don't touch me.
I won't.
I don't know what's going on. I've just been like snotty McSnotface like for the last week. I need some kind of exorcism, like of stuff out my face. Is beautiful.
Yeah, that sounds lovely.
It's not good.
No. Have you tried Puritan?
I've tried everything.
I was going to say because often antihistamines are a bit better than Sudafed.
Yeah.
Not that I'm a doctor. I don't take any medical advice from me whatsoever. That's just what my doctor told me once.
But I'm not moaning about it.
Okay.
I'm all good.
Good. That's all right.
I'm all good. It is the time of year though. Like, oh man, singers and stuff. It's a rubbish time of year to be a musician, isn't it? Because it's just how many people do I know who are musicians who have like having to dep gigs out because they've lost their voice or they've got a sore throat or a cold, and it's just rubbish.
Yeah, a lot of people do get really ill. I'm very fortunate, touch wood. I haven't been ill yet. I felt a bit under the weather, but nothing that I can't just have an orange juice and be like, just get over it, get on with it.
Crack on.
And then, I have to literally be dying for me to turn a gig down or not do a gig. Like, I mean, I'm sure I've mentioned it before. I did a gig when I had swine flu. So, I literally have to have an arm off or something.
It's bad that it's difficult to like. I don't know if you find this, but if I am suffering though, I really have to think about what key I sing stuff in. Because I just can't. There's just like notes that just disappear at the top of my range that just I can't get to at all.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm normally quite good at manipulating my voice in such a way and supporting everything in such a way that I don't
have to change the key.
Yeah, I don't have to change the key. I just change slightly. I make different melodic choices, I would say, or do the whole you sing this part.
Oh yeah, that's a classic. Yeah,
and I do like doing that bit quite a lot. Like letting someone else take the reins. Like I think for New Year's Eve, like, I was actually all right. I was fine. I didn't get any vocal fatigue at all. Probably sung for about 3 hours. We put all the big sing-along, powerful G-up songs all in a row. Now, normally you probably wouldn't do that. You'd give yourself a little bit of a break. It just seemed right at the time, and it really, really worked. So we just went with it.
I got tonsillitis and had to go to hospital on like the 26th of December.
Bloody hell.
So yeah, it was like 4 or 5 days after it was our New Year gig, and thankfully it was a duo gig with Rach. So she took, I'd say she took 70% of the singing, because I just couldn't do anything.
But she was ill as well.
Yeah, she was ill as well, but, you know, it's like top trumps, so I was worse, so...
Yeah, because she asked me to come and help her out on a gig. I was like, yeah, okay. And then she was like, by the way, I'm ill. I was like, oh, great, well, I've got gigs as well, you know, I don't want to get ill.
I know, it was rubbish. We smashed the gig, but honestly, we had to, like, pull everything in our favour, like... sing along songs for other people, like shorten the set length down, put songs in strategically in the right place in the set, so I didn't hit it too quickly. I had a good long time to warm up, and we were also the DJ. So to be honest, we spent an awful lot of the night just playing DJ,
just
DJing. Yeah, exactly. So that was fun, but we got through it. Where was your New Year gig? What venue?
Oh, it was at Frimley Hall Hotel.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good crowd?
Yeah, it was actually. They were really up for it. I just hate the proper cold snap. So everyone always thinks that like January is really quite cold and miserable, but actually when January's over, I feel like it gets colder. Like I always feel like February is colder than January.
Yeah. No, definitely. I remember doing a gig in a really... I mean, I can say this because, one, they're not going to be listening. Two, I think it's closed down now anyway. A really shit social club in Northampton. Oh, so God. Miles away.
Yeah.
But if you're listening in the States and you don't know where that is, it's basically a really shit town. If you're listening in Northampton, thanks for listening. It's a really shit town, about 2 hours away from here, and it's a proper old social club. And I remember playing it in Feb on my own to like, I don't know, there was like 15 people in there, 10 of them were extremely racist.
Oh,
the other 5 were like extremely old. It was that kind of gig. And I remember playing, thinking, I just got to get through it and get home before, this is just rubbish. But I could just see, from the moment I started my first song, it started snowing outside. It just got... heavier, and I had 3 sets of like 40 minutes to do, and with every set that went past, I could just see it chucking it down more and more, and people started sort of drifting off, like because the old people were like, "Well, I've got to get home because I've got to walk," and I was thinking, "Oh Jesus, I've got to like drive in it." And by the time I got out of the gig, it was like a foot of snow everywhere, and I was like, "Oh my God." Yeah, it's going to take me, 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning to get home now, and, country lanes and stuff. Yeah, it was a nightmare. Absolute nightmare.
That's horrible. That's like, last year when we were running a jam night, and it was I think oh gosh, when was it? I want to say it was March. I feel like it was March.
We did have snow in March, I'm sure we did, a couple of years ago.
I feel like it started in February, and it carried on right to the end of March and possibly into April. This is definitely last year, and freaking hell. So it was I think it was the first one we did, and it was the 28th of February or something like that. And the venue, even though the whole of Reading was snow gridlocked and everywhere was snow gridlocked, they were like, "Oh, you're still coming in to do the jam?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know how many people are really going to show up, in all fairness and honesty, because, it is snowing." Yeah, flipping heck. Obviously, one person turned up, and they were like, "Well, it's not really cost effective for us to run this jam like that." Yeah, because you kept you didn't cancel it, and you sort of refused to accept that it's gridlock snow outside, and even your band who are hosting the night had tremendous issues getting here. It's obviously you made a loss on that. That is your own stupid, like, thought process in that one.
And
like,
to be honest, it's just like, you know,
God.
if you know you're going to have thick snow in a week's time, fair enough, cancel it. And people, maybe, you know, if you're in a band and you get cancelled a week in advance, it's not great, but, like, you'd kind of accept it.
Yeah.
But, like, it's just tough luck. Like, if you own a pub and you've booked a band to play and it's snowing and no one can get there, you kind of just got to roll with it, and you're going to have to pay them, but don't expect them to turn up. Like, it's just the way it works, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's crazy. To be really honest, like, I don't think I would have minded them saying, no, it's okay. Because I had to drive through Reading in like, ice. And I was
that's the thing. Like,
so over it. I was like, I don't have a car that's really meant for driving in ice. It's a soft top. It's not meant for ice. It's meant for the sunshine.
yeah, your car is ideal for in the UK, probably about 3 weeks of the year. Like, it's lovely.
I don't know. Last year, I got loads out of it.
I'm not saying it's not a good car. I'm just saying, like, the ideal weather for your car only occurs about 3 weeks of the year in this
Possibly.
Yeah.
You can.
Well, my car's rubbish as well. I've got a BMW, rear-wheel drive. You
can't drive in the snow in that.
Definitely not, especially with a full load of PA stuff and, like, a whole PA in the back. It's like where the PA's in the boot and weighing it down. Like, literally can't even get off the drive.
I remember, like, just before Christmas, like, it was torrentially raining. Like, it was so rainy. It was horrible. And we were playing at this place we play a lot at this like private school, and it was like their end of year party thing. And I got there, and the grass, to load it in, you have to drive across a lawn. I know that sounds bad, but you do. There's no other way to load in. But it was so wet that when you were driving across the grass, it was boggy and the cars were just slipping everywhere around, right? So we're trying to, like, navigate this, like, essentially this bog. And everyone else, like, this is what typically happens in my band all of the time. They've all arrived and they're all a bit concerned about the grass. I was like, that's okay, we'll just park up the hill because the water will run down. It'll be easier to leave when you're, you know, on the higher part of ground. Yeah, okay, well, I hope we don't get stuck. Yeah. So we're all a bit concerned we're going to get stuck in the mud and we're in the lawn, whatever. So when we come to leave, and we've all loaded the cars up and what have you, and everyone's like, oh God, what if the car gets stuck? What if I get stuck in the mud? They all pull away easily with their modern cars. Just, they're straight off. They're gone. My car's still like that in the rain because it hates the rain, any bit of moisture. And I'm like, please start. And then I, like, started. And then I've got a really old car. It's got, like, no ABS, no power steering, no traction control, nothing. It's literally... So I put it in second because I was like, if I go in first, the lawn is going to be all over the building. And so I'm there, but my car's not got any traction at all, and it's just sort of slibbering around in this, like, mud, and it's peeing down, so I can't even get out of the car and push it or anything. And I was like, great, well, they've all just buggered off. They were all so concerned that they would get stuck in the mud that they've just left me here, not making sure I didn't get stuck in the mud or anything like that. I was like, oh, I'll wait till you all leave, like, I'll make sure that none of you get stuck in the mud. And none of them did, so they just drove off.
Bye, Kirsty. See you at the next gig.
See ya, bye. And I'm just like, great, I'm the one who's stuck in the mud. And now what I had to do was literally put it in reverse and let my car sort of slide backwards down this hill until I reached a bit of grass that it could get a bit of grip on, and then put it into a forward gear so I could actually move. It took me 15 minutes to get out there. And I looked back at the grass and I was like, I'm going to deny everything. I'm just going to deny that was me. I churned up their lawn.
They've paid 300 quid for the band, but you've cost them like $5,000 in landscaping.
I was like, hopefully no one will notice. And it looks like someone's come along and done donuts. They'll notice.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. The thing is, I've got a new car. I've got a pretty much brand new BMW. That is equally as shite. Like, we went to the beach like this last summer, I took the kids to the beach and we were like, let's go surfing, you know. And so we get down there. First of all, I get like proper like jealousy because I see like loads of lovely camper vans with like surfboards on the roof, and I'm like, oh, we should be in a camper van, not a modern BMW, like you know, some middle class twat. But anyway, I parked on the beach. I thought, oh, park on the beach, that's cool.
Oh God.
Park on the beach, completely and utterly stuck. Like, as soon as I started to
Just
after surfing, as soon as we started to leave, it just dug in, and the more I could feel every time I put my foot on the accelerator, the car got lower to the point where it took a load of people who were sitting in some beach bar nearby to come and all like kind of dig us out and push us out.
Oh
I was like,
God.
with my kids going, Daddy, what's going on? Shut up.
Don't draw
Shut
any
up.
attention.
We're creating a scene.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it wasn't ideal.
No. I remember when my mum's car got stuck. The funny thing was she had a 4x4. Like, you'd think that a 4x4 wouldn't get stuck in the mud, but it did. And we were on holiday in the Isle of Wight, and we were on one of those Sun £9.50 holidays. And it was like...
Sun's a new flavour, by the way.
Like the worst one. No, actually, the Daily Mail is the worst one.
Yeah.
No, it's pretty terrible. And so basically, you collect these vouchers, and then you can go on holiday for like less than a tenner. But it's always like at the end of season, and no one wants to go, and it's rainy and horrible. And it's always to like places where, because it's the end of season, there's no entertainment, there's nothing to do, all the parks are closed, and there's no sunshine. So
that's the reason it's £9.
Yeah, so we've gone to the Isle of Wight, and we've got to this like holiday park, which is full of static caravans. And I made a joke while we were on the way. I was like, oh, I bet some poor bastard gets lumped with the mouldy green caravan that's all manky. Yeah, us. We did. That was us. We were the family. They were like, here's your caravan. It's right in the corner of this like 5-hectare freaking site, miles away from anything. Like, it took us like 10 minutes to freaking drive to the freaking caravan. And we get there, there's mould all over the windows, all over the bed sheets. It's cold, it's wet. The TV's broken, there's smashed glass on the floor.
Nice.
And we were like, cozy. So we were like phoning up this company, the lodge, I suppose, and being like, hi, have you got any clean bedding? Because all of ours is covered in mould. Hi, have you got someone who can come out and fix the telly? Because it just won't even pick up BBC One.
Do you know anyone who can remove a dead body?
Yeah, like literally it was like that. And instead of just doing this all in one trip, there was this little like lady on a for lack of a better word, like a quad bike, I suppose, who just kept driving up and down this field with a trailer with a telly in it and some sheets. and then we were like, oh yeah, we've just gone into the master bedroom with glass all over the floor. So she comes back and cleans up the glass, and she's like, anything else? Is there anything else? We're like, oh yeah, actually, there's a hole in the roof of the shower. Like, you know. So in the end, they were just like, just go to another caravan, right? Just move to another caravan. So they moved us down to this like upgrade. And by upgrade, I mean it had a picnic bench outside the front of it. But it was down valley. It was like in the valley bit of the like caravan park, which wasn't a problem at the time until it rained overnight. And then all the water has just gone down into the valley. And my mum's car's like, there's no like driveway or bricks or slabs or anything. You just park your car like next to the caravan. So basically what's happened is our car's just sunk in this quagmire. and we were going to Birdworld the next day, all right? We're not missing out on bloody Birdworld. So we're like there, and my mum was like, go behind the car and push. I was like, you have got it in second or third, haven't you? Yeah. No, she has not. Bullshit, she has. She literally put her car in first and was like, push it, like that. Me and my brother get covered in shit, literally, like everywhere. And she is still revving her car, like, so much. And we just stood there, just not even touching the car anymore, just covered in this crap. And she laughs her head off, gets out of the car and just starts laughing at us. Like, yes, that's great. We're all about to go on a little family outing, and now we're just covered in shit. Isn't that great? And now we've got to have a shower and get changed.
It's what the best
Isn't that
holidays are
nice?
made of.
Yeah, she thought it was hilarious. I was like, right, well, you get behind the car and you push it. I'll be sitting in the driver's seat. Oh, yeah, all of a sudden she changed her tune. No, it's fine. I'll get the car out of the mud. Will you now? It's just absolutely horrible.
That sounds like a holiday to remember.
It was. I'll tell you what, actually, one part of that holiday that was very memorable, and no one believes me that it's a thing. In the Isle of Wight, they have dancing fountains, right? And the fountains dance to music, right? And it's in a theatre, right? Right, so no one ever believes me this is a thing. They have a theatre, you go in and you sit down, and they have these, like, red velvet curtains, right?
Yeah.
And the curtains open up, and then then these, like, water fountains start dancing.
That's probably
like...
the best thing about the Isle of Wight. Like, because we went to the Isle of Wight, which is a weird place. I don't know if, like, you know, most people in the UK will know what Isle of Wight is, and will take no explanation as to why it's bloody weird. But like, if you don't know the UK, it's like some kind of, it's basically like, you know, when they have like offshore prisons. It's like a little island off the coast of the UK that's kind of everyone's like, you know, married to their brother. It's lovely, but it's weird as frick. Like, isn't it? We went to one and it was like a really crap, like, Madame Tussauds, like, you know, like when they make like wax people, but they're not very good at it. Like, it's basically like
I think I've been to that.
Like a mannequin in a shop, kind of like, but that's had a stroke.
They just put a wig on it. And
it's like, this is like Prince Philip. No, it's not. It's clearly not. Yeah, that's weird, isn't it? There's lots of crazy shit like that down there.
There is.
It's turned into a holiday podcast, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is great.
Well, I am going on holiday in March, so...
Where you going? Isle of Wight?
No. No, I'm
The
going...
lure of the fountains. Too much for you? Where you going?
Fuerteventura.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice. We're going stateside. We're going to New York. I've never been to New York before.
Oh, neither have I.
I'm proper excited about it.
That is cool, yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be good. We're going in May because it's my birthday. Ooh. And it may or may not be a slightly bigger than normal birthday. So
it's well old.
Not well old. A little bit older than you.
Well, my cousin's
quite a bit older.
My cousin had her a landmark birthday, shall we say, this week, and she started to referring to it as her advanced years. So. There you go.
Yeah, I'm not that old. I don't think I'm going to start using the advanced years as, you know, the phrase to define how old.
Only 40. She's calling it.
Well, I'm going to be 40, but I see. I still think I'm quite young. I know I'm not.
Jeez. I'm young. I'm hip. I'm down with the kids.
I'm not. Honestly, I drank last night for the first time in ages, and I feel rough as Billy-O today. God, it's like, what is it, like 10 o'clock now? The day afterwards in the evening, and I still feel rough as dog shit.
Well,
I can't cope.
Self-inflicted.
I know it's self-inflicted, but so bring it vaguely back into music stuff. I was at a corporate gig, corporate function yesterday.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with being there. I was there through work. They had a band playing. Mm-hmm. Tough gig for the band. Really tough gig. It was in a massive hall. Like, there was like 2,000 people, so the hall was incredibly big. A lot of noise, and the band were they were so loud. Like, they had to be loud because it would have just completely been drowned out otherwise. But it's almost too loud
to enjoy it.
To enjoy it, like, yeah, it was uncomfortably loud. I don't know if you've done this before when you've done corporate gigs. It never sparks. Like, the excitement level never gets past about 3. Yeah. It was just flat as a pancake. Yeah. And they were trying really hard, bless them. They were pretty good. I mean, they weren't the best band I've ever seen, but they were fairly shit hot. I actually think they were probably better than they sounded because they just sounded like dog shit because it was just too loud. Yeah.
I always find corporate gigs they're much harder than weddings, because weddings, everyone knows each other and they're all family and people aren't afraid to lose their inhibitions a bit. And same with birthday parties, everybody's actually there to let loose. Corporate parties, people are afraid to let loose because they're with the people that they're working with. and their bosses and stuff like that. And I mean, unless you are in a really close-knit team where you actively socialise together and work together, you might find it's really, really difficult because people are so apprehensive about letting go, unless they're lawyers. This is the thing I've found. If they're lawyers, they'll be smashed anyway. They'll be on all sorts. Don't want to say what because they're lawyers.
They'll see your ass.
They'll sue me. But yes, if you do a party for a solicitors or a law firm, you'll be guaranteed a good night.
Yeah, it was messy, but it never got going in terms of like a good atmosphere last night.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, if the amount of people I saw in the hotel this morning who were like, "Oh, I'm really hoarse," because you had to
Shout.
scream to even have a conversation with people. It just was uncomfortable.
Yeah. See, in that situation, what I would have done is probably take it right down, because I feel like when you do that, incentivizes people to try and listen more, and people get closer to the stage to actually hear it. And then people who want to talk go away. Do you know what I mean? It sort of separates it. So, because if it's too loud for people to even stand near your speakers and dance, they won't dance. They'll be like trying to get away from it all the time.
I mean, I was at the back of the room, and it was a massive room because it was a big conference centre. So I was probably 50 metres away from the stage. It was like a fair way back.
Yeah.
And it was too loud from where I was standing to have a conversation. So
yeah, it's not good. Like you got to take people's hearing into account and their the actual safety level of how loud you are. Like if you're louder than like 92, I mean 95 is like a stadium gig, I think, or even might be 93. It's not actually that loud. But that is pretty loud. Like in terms of you go up 1 decibel, but like 1 decibel is quite loud in comparison.
Well, even when they stopped, like the disco music, like the interlude between their sets, was even bloody louder. It was obscenely loud. And I don't think that's because I'm nearly 40 that I felt it was too loud. Like everyone was struggling with it. It was just
no, it is. You can tell. Like that's the thing. Like I've definitely done gigs before where we've been told that we're too loud, and we're like, okay, well your venue is made of glass and marble, so yeah, we are going to sound louder than normal. Like I haven't cranked RPA any louder than I would at any other gig. Like I haven't been like, well, we'll just crank it right up. It's just the nature of the room, so you try and adjust that, and then their house DJ plugs in, and we're literally in pain and agony loading out because we're like, holy crap, like he's way louder than we were, but because we're the band, we're obviously wrong and the bad people. And we're like, whoa, hang on a minute there. If you're going to be like volume control, you might want to have a word with your DJ as well. Like you know, we've definitely played venues as well where they've had a sound limiter and they've said, we've been an acoustic duo and we've apparently like, oh, you got to be careful. Yes, I'm sure we will break the sound barrier. Me and a guitar. You know, us sitting down in the corner, like being drowned out by rugby louts. Yes, you're right. We are the ones who are loud here. And then when we finished, they've plugged in. This has actually happened. They plugged in their own music or whatever, but put it through their speakers that isn't controlled by the sound limiter. And it's been 85 decibels from our reader outside in the car park, and they were like, yeah, we can't understand why we're getting sound complaints. Like, I can tell you exactly why you're getting sound complaints, mate. Like, it's actually physically painful. Oh, I was just like, get us out. I was like, I think you might want to like reevaluate where this might be going wrong for you.
Getting on to more music stuff, let's play our first bit of music, shall we?
Yes.
For this season.
So we've got some music on today's show. I'm very excited about this one because, as you may have guessed, because I've bored you to death since I met you, one of my favourite bands ever is Counting Crows.
Yes.
And I discovered this band through kind of Counting Crows because two of the guys, I think three at one point, I think Charlie used to be in this band, but Dan and Jim, guitarist and the vocalist, the guitarist and the drummer, from Counting Crows, have got a side project or another band with Patrick and Kurt, and they're called the Tender Mercies.
Yeah.
And they've been very kind enough to let us use some of their music.
Yeah,
I've been listening to these guys for ages. I think this album came out 2011 or something like that. I'm not sure whether they've put out anything else since then. But as I understand it, I think Patrick and Kurt were the sort of founding members. And I think at that point, a guy called Charlie, who was in Counting Crows, was in one of the very early versions of this band. But they're great. They're, how would I describe them? Well, you can listen to it in a sec, so I don't need to, do I really?
Yeah.
Americana, kind of...
Yeah, like rockabilly indie. That came to my mind immediately, was that nice rockabilly sounding guitar, bluesy kind of.
Yeah, for me, it's the strength of the songs is what holds it all together. The songs are really well constructed and really well written, and I just find it really interesting. I really, really like this album. I feel like more people should know about this band.
Yeah, this is the first time I've been introduced to this and heard of it, but immediately it sparked off several bands that I was like, oh, have you heard of this? That sounds like that. Have you heard of this? That sounds like that. So it's obviously something that resonates with me.
I might be completely wrong because they probably shout at me for saying this, but I reckon what holds them back a little bit is the fact that Dan and Jim are constantly on tour with Counting Crows. So it's difficult. It's probably difficult to play that much when you've got a number of big bands, especially if you're in another band. We're going to have a couple of their songs. This is the first one. It's called Ball and Chain.
If you're asking me, kid, what you should do, I say whatever it takes. 'Cause if this led into the gate, they don't change the stakes. From the cradle to the grave, let me take on. To all your kingsmen gone insane, from the long forgotten and forsaken, to the ball and chain. On a pedestal you place yourself above all the rest. Your cup's so full it was spilling on down the treasure chest. From the mockingbird to the buzzard bragging, the painted birds are all vain. Well, they take to the sky, they're just dragging around a ball and chain. From the pack of fools that you bought, pull that wagon, pretty bones of all you think, and a beast of the burden you're just dragging around a ball and chain, a ball and chain, ball and chain. Ball and chain.
Music news?
Yes.
There's not, I mean...
Lady Gaga's hair was pretty bad, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We could talk about that.
I feel like we covered R. Kelly last week with Uncle Bob, so... What I will say is, it's a shame. It's a shame to lose such good music.
That's it. I can't play half the tunes that we want to play anymore. I Believe I Can Fly? Nope.
I know.
Ignition remix? No.
I know. I mean, like, normally, like, no one really cared with Gary Glitter because, you know,
No one wanted to
No
sing
one
his
wants
songs.
to do it.
No.
I think everyone knows R. Kelly's a tool anyway, an absolute tool.
Yeah.
There's a difference between being a tool and being a pretty horrible person. So anyway,
Yeah.
I'm not going to give him the bandwidth, even though I just have. Talking of people I really like, Ed Sheeran.
Right.
I haven't talked about him yet. Actually, no, I did last week, didn't I?
Yeah.
He put in an appeal. You know, he's being sued for this not cover. Well, may as well be a cover. He's being sued for his song sounding very much like Marvin Gaye's.
Oh, yeah. Thinking out loud, wasn't it?
Yeah. So
That
there's
had already happened. I have to drag these things out.
no. It's basically still rumbling on. He's basically Ed Sheeran's put a request in to dismiss the lawsuit, and it's been turned down by a US judge now. So it's heading to trial.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, it's very difficult because, I mean, if you play that chord sequence, but in like a slightly different way, it's still going to sound like, do you know, even if it's in a different key, if it's that chord sequence, like, you know, the first, second and whatever, it's gonna sound like, it's going to, like, that's just the rule, that's just the law of how music works. It's gonna sound similar. But it's like, where do you draw the line? If it's in a different key, is it a different song? Even if it follows the same structure, is it? Do you know what I mean?
It is tough. It's tough, and also because, you know, I'm about to defend Ed Sheeran. What's going on? It's new year, new me. When anyone is massively successful, you're there to be taken a pop at, and everyone wants a piece of, like, a potential lawsuit. Like, I felt like that a bit with Michael Jackson. Now, I know he was weird, and he did attract a lot of needless attention from people trying to sue him for various bits and bobs. But, like, because he's famous and he's got a lot of money, everyone thinks it's fair game to, like, sue you left, right and centre. Yeah,
but do you know what I feel it is? It's the frickin' Marvin Gaye family, innit? They just... I'm sorry, Marvin Gaye's family, back off, alright? Marvin Gaye wasn't all that, alright? Just calm down. It's everything. It's like blurred lines. If you actually look at the sheet music for that, the rhythm is completely different. It's so different. You're like... You're getting a load of people to judge this who aren't even musicians. Look at that on a piece of paper compared to the other one. It's freaking different. And they're just money-grabbing gits. I'm sorry, but they are. Like, there's no way. Like, I'm sorry, half the people who are suing for stuff like that, you got to think to yourselves, like, what does it achieve for you, really? Oh, it's the Marvin Gaye Foundation. Yeah. But no one's forgotten who Marvin Gaye is. Nobody's forgotten Marvin Gaye's music. Like, it's not like he's still not a commendable person within the music industry, and people don't know his music. They do. It was a huge part of, like, Motown, and it's not even. It's just like, why are you doing this? Why are you being detrimental to other people's musical careers? Because it had some hand clapping in it, so therefore it's a rip off of that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's
I don't really have an opinion on whether it rips it off or not. Like, I don't know. But yeah, you're right. It is. Music seems to be fair game for that sort of stuff, whereas films not so much. Like when I read Harry Potter and saw the Harry Potter films, I immediately went, "Oh, that's so influenced by Lord of the Rings." Like, there's so many bits in it from Lord of the Rings, but no one's like suing J.K. Rowling for like nicking this. It's just like it goes in film and stuff like that, and literature. It goes down as being, you know, one of the influences. Whereas music, there seems to be people default straight to plagiarism rather than it being influenced by or sounding along the same themes as. I don't know. It's difficult, isn't it? Anyway, well, there you go. We just defended Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, he's not that bad, really.
He's not that bad.
He's just so overly popular that
It just annoyed me with constantly in my ear with the A-Team. That's my only beef.
But
with
that's
him.
the thing, like, you're the one who's got beef with Ed Sheeran. I don't actually mind Ed Sheeran. I'm indifferent to it. I neither really love it nor really hate it. I'm just like, it's all right.
I'll tell you what, something we both enjoyed though, and I'm pleased to say the next bit of music news is that Rami Malek has won a Golden Globe for
Woohoo!
his portrayal of Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, he deserves to win that thing.
He smashed it out of the park.
Yeah, called that.
Not funny, but good news for any Ryan Adams fan. He's doing 3 albums this year.
Oh, okay.
He's the guy's like a monster. He output of albums. It's like, you know, like David Bowie did like 90 albums or something. I mean, admittedly, a lot of them not great.
Yeah.
But you know, he just churned out stuff. Ryan Adams is in the same boat. Like, he just...
Yeah, he does.
So much stuff. And not all of it's good, but a lot of it is pretty good.
Yeah, it's always the way, though. Like, somebody said, like, ages ago to me, they were like, I think we touched on it when we were talking about the songwriting. Write 10 songs a day, one of them's bound to be good. I mean, obviously, that's just a sort of expression. I don't actually mean go and write 10 songs every day, because otherwise you'd hate songs forever. I want to keep it, and I still want to have it as a record. I think
some people are just happy with, like, you know, just putting stuff out, and some people are a bit more guarded with, no, you're only ever going to see my best stuff.
Yeah, no,
like,
exactly.
Do you know what I actually think? This has already annoyed you, and it cheered me up that it annoyed you, to be honest.
What?
This next bit of music trivia, music news from this week. It's not really music news, it's just a bullshit article that riled you because it was a play on words. There's an online petition for Stevie Nicks from Fleetwood Mac.
Oh yeah.
to work a shift at McDonald's in Fleetwood, because it's Fleetwood Mac, obviously. Donald's.
Yeah, I thought that was the
Fleetwood
stupidest
McDonald's
thing ever. I was like, yeah, but why?
I said it to you. I was like, oh, this is a bit of a shitty article. Because it's a bit like the Chad fronting Nirvana, sort of.
Yeah.
It's internet self-generated, like.
Yeah, well, who comes
trash.
up with this?
I said to you, and like, that's stupid. It's rubbish. It doesn't even work as a pun.
So well, I didn't.
You got proper annoyed about it.
Yeah, because by that logic, I was like, well, surely everybody in Scotland or whatever, you know, anyone whose name begins with muck should work at McDonald's, apparently. No, I was like, yeah, but why Stevie? Why
Because
just her? Why not the rest of the... Like, do you know what I mean? I was like, why just her in particular? Out of all the things, she's the one who doesn't even have muck in her name, like, at all. Anyway.
You think Mick Fleetwood should have to work at Fleetwood Mac?
Yeah, or at least he's got a little bit of something. Do you know what I mean?
I thought it was just the bad punnage that annoyed you, but what I've discovered now
bloody
is
thing.
It was the fact that why is she being singled out? Why aren't they all working there?
Equalise.
I think it's weird.
Yeah, I just don't get it.
Not a fan of my procuring of comedy gold from the internet. I
wouldn't say it was comedy gold.
No.
If that's comedy gold.
It's not. It's a very shit, vaguely music-related story.
This is the cream of the crop, this right here.
Look. Every 2 weeks, we sit down, we pretend to know about music, I scour the internet for music news, and it's been a slow week.
Yeah, well, it has.
It's not...
Yeah.
Like, Dave Grohl fell off stage again.
I heard.
Have you seen the video?
He downed a beer and then he fell off again.
Should watch the video, it's great.
Dear.
So I, with my rants around, on the Christmas podcast, around Fairy Tale in New York.
Yeah.
I upset my mate Rick.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He just loved that song.
Not so much he loved it, but we did a Christmas gig over Christmas, and he played that song. And I saw him recently, and he was like, "Oh, I've just listened to your Christmas podcast, and that song I played at your gig, you were slagging it off." I was like, "Yeah, but I wasn't slagging your version. I quite enjoyed your version. I was slagging off the actual song."
Time for a bit more music, I think. Back to Tender Mercies. Hopefully you enjoyed the first song. This is a great song as well. This is called Safe and Sound.
You're speaking softly into my broken ears. Your voice assures me there's nothing here to fear. And on a night like this I should know the stars are crystal clear, the moon's a sideshow. Looking into the sky where you can't see this carnival of emotion inside of me. I'm spinning round upon the Ferris wheel, and there's no words to explain this feeling I feel. And all this time I know that I must be the luckiest man in the world. in an open field. And as I call your name, I hear my voice just the same, echoing like someone's lost beyond the hill. Oh, and suddenly I see the earth is at my feet, and I have landed above you, and it's clear that you are safe and sound on a dry and distant ground, whispering words that I will never hear. And all this time I know that I must be the luckiest man in the world. Ooh, and all this time I know that I must be the luckiest man in the You're speaking softly into my broken ears. Your voice assures me there's nothing here to fear. And on a night like this, I should know the stars are crystal clear, the moon's a sideshow.
So we should talk about our topic of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
We want to talk about rehearsals today.
Yes.
Now, I think the next 20 minutes could have the potential to be pretty informative because, and I only say that because I reckon I've done the opposite of all of the tips we're about to give you. I've been guilty of every single one of these.
Same. If I'd have known that I was supposed to do this in a rehearsal in the beginning, I would have probably been a lot more successful than I am.
Your band would be better.
now. Yeah, my band would be
Definitely have more money.
A better musician. Can you imagine? It is more constructive, and it's tips of how to make the most of your rehearsal time. Essentially, we're just trying to help, I suppose.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. So obviously, I am not in a band right now, but I've been in loads of bands. Your band, do you rehearse much? Because you're gigging all the time, right?
We only rehearse when we have to tighten things up. If things get slack, or we've got a new song that we're doing specifically for somebody's first dance,
Yep.
and if we want to add any interesting things into our set with what we have already, that's when we do rehearsals. So most of the time we did all of our rehearsing, and then we recorded our rehearsals. So when we rehearse for ourselves, we rehearse to our recordings.
Okay,
that makes sense.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And so before we get onto our top tips, I guess, there's going to be people out there, and I've definitely been in a couple of bands that have never gigged despite being in rehearsal rooms for like 6 months.
Yes.
Like, do you know what I mean? You're in bands, like,
yeah.
you're in a regular band, but you never get to the stage of actually putting on a gig because something happens.
Yeah.
Like, there's probably people in that boat. How long before you guys started playing gigs were you rehearsing?
With the function stuff, it initially, like, we didn't have a repertoire, for example. So when we first started, we had to build up our repertoire.
Yep.
Building up a 30-song repertoire well enough to be able to actually then start playing it live. And then what we did was we did loads of small-time gigs, like pub gigs and stuff like that, to get used to how we would run it, how we would run the set, and what was working better live. So I would say probably about 3 to 6 months was spent actually just getting the repertoire
Up to
down.
Standard, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's good. So what we've got loads of tips coming up, but we thought we'd kind of bucket them together if we can.
Yeah.
Just so that it's easier to sort of group stuff. So we've kind of got 10 topics, 10 tips for you guys. And the first one I want to cover is what I'm going to call be organised and respectful when it comes to rehearsal. I've been in bands where you try and, for a couple of weeks, to find out when everyone's free. Okay, we're free like 2 weeks' time on a Thursday. So we turn up at band practice, and then there's no thought gone into when the next practice is. You never get up to speed properly with any kind of rhythm and stuff. So I would say my first tip would be put someone in charge of having a regular slot that you're going to rehearse, either decide whether you're going to rehearse weekly, monthly, 2 weekly. I would possibly say if you are a band that still needs to rehearse quite a bit, I would say probably monthly is too infrequent.
Yeah, once a week or once every 2 weeks tends to work if you're at the very, very early stages. Of more than that, you're going to get sick of each other very, very quickly. You're not going to have enough time to actually develop on the ideas and the things that you've actually covered in rehearsal.
I've definitely seen that by not having a regular day of the week that you do it, or in a regular place, it's very hard to coordinate diaries.
You'll probably find that if you do have a regular slot at a particular studio, like we've definitely found it, they will give you a discount if you
for like block booking.
And also when we first started rehearsing, we were very fortunate enough to use a room at Reading University which was dedicated to the Rock Academy, which they didn't use in the evening because all the students were young kids and they finished teaching at 6.
That's good.
You know,
I'd almost go so far as to say that if the attitude you take to booking rehearsals is a kind of statement of intent about the attitude you're going to come into rehearsal in, if you're too relaxed and, I'm not sure we're going to practice, let's just sort it out in the week, you're probably going to arrive at the rehearsal room with that same kind of disorganised, not really sure what we're going to do, and therefore you're going to achieve far less.
Yeah.
I know it sounds weird, but I think the more organised you can be in the admin, the better. And the other side of this coin is you mentioned this a minute ago before we started recording, be respectful to the owners of the studio, people going in after you, and the equipment that you're given to use.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing worse than turning up to a studio expecting to be able to rehearse, and then you have to spend 15 minutes replacing amplifiers and cables and things like that because the people before you have trashed the place. If you're unsure how to use the equipment safely and correctly, then you need to ask the people who run the studio how to use it. You know?
Now, not everyone's got this luxury, but here's a thought. If you use sound guy for your gigs, should you occasionally have the sound guy at the studio to do the mixer?
If you are very, very fortunate to have that, perhaps you might be offering to have somebody help you with your PA gear, or borrowing PA gear off of somebody when you do your gigs, because obviously I appreciate that not all bands will have their own PA systems and what have you. You know, perhaps somebody's doing it for you for, you know, a discounted price. Oh yeah, just chuck me so and so amount and I'll help you out with your sound on your gig on Saturday or whatever. Maybe you might want to invite them and ask them if they do want to come down to your rehearsal. So one, you can learn from them as well, and two, they can, if they're like, they might just be a hobbyist as well. You never know. So maybe they would be appreciative of the time to actually, you know, get some rehearsal time in using that equipment. You never know.
Number 2, this is something I have been 100% guilty of in every single band I've been in.
Yeah.
And when I was thinking about tips for this episode, I hated myself a little bit for
Great.
Plan what you want to cover before you get to the rehearsal room.
Yeah.
Have an objective. Put it in writing if you have to, or write it on a whiteboard in the rehearsal room, or stick it on a bit of paper or something. But have an objective of what you want to cover before you turn up. Yeah,
you'll find actually in rehearsal rooms there's often a chalkboard, a whiteboard, or a flip pad. Why do you think they're there, guys? And it didn't just end up there by accident. So there's a studio that we sometimes use called Henwood Studios. On the back of the door, there is a huge chalkboard and a selection of chalk. It is there purposely for your reference. Write down what songs you're doing, what you want to achieve, and then you tick it off as you've done it, because it gives you a goal and it makes you stick to your plan. Because otherwise, you just what ends up happening, like we were just saying, someone ends up going do 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 do, and then someone else is doing, you know, paradiddle, and then someone's on their phone and nothing gets achieved.
Noodling every single, and right, there's no one culprit. Well, actually, the only person who doesn't do this tends to be the singer, because frankly, you'd be a bloody weirdo if you started noodling with your voice like over the top of people. But like guitarists and bassists, and particularly drummers. No, actually, not particularly. They're all equal culprits to this. Bloody noodling in between the thing. Like, it's fine. Maybe, well, actually, what we did used to do sometimes, we'd have 5 minutes once we're all set up to just make whatever noise or have whatever jam we want to do, and then that's it. Boom. Done. In between songs, you either put your instruments down or you don't bloody touch them. Even have a swear jar or a noodling jar, because it's so annoying.
Yeah. No, definitely. Be focused
if you're going to have a jam, then set aside a rehearsal that is just purely
Mucky.
a jam, or set aside, I don't know, half an hour at the end to work on something else or new stuff or whatever. If you find there's two people who mainly write the stuff, get them to have a jam on their own outside, and then bring something good to it.
Yeah, that could work. You don't always have to rehearse all together.
No,
I know that sounds weird, but if it's for songwriting rehearsal particularly, you might want to just include one or two, maybe three people who solely write the song, like the lyrical content and the melody and things like that, and then introduce what they have to the band, and then you rehearse it together as a full band, for example, because then that way you're not sat there feeling like you haven't got any input on anything.
It's really hard to have four people be creative, all pushing in the same direction.
It really is, yeah. I think that might actually bring it on to the next point, actually.
Yeah, number 3, change it up. The biggest thing that we did wrong is we had a set length of about an hour and a half. It was an originals band. We'd come in and we'd start from the beginning of the set every time. I said the first 3 songs were pretty tight.
Banging, mate.
Banging. The end of the set was ropey as hell because we never got to it. And everyone was thoroughly bored.
Yeah.
Change it up. And that comes back to having the objectives. Have a different objective every time, or focus in on what you need to be working on. How are you going to get better than you are?
Yeah. So when it comes to the set thing, my kind of tip on it is, instead of rehearsing the full entire set, song from the beginning to the end, and then next song from the beginning to the end, tops and bottoms, you know, at the end of the day, it's something like, this is really bad, probably. I always tell my students, like, people don't care about what's happened in the middle of the song. If you start strong and you end strong, that's the bit that people remember. They're like, oh, that ending was great, when they were like, ooh, shh, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Working out how you're going to move from song to song, in your set is probably more productive than playing the full song, especially if you've got a limited amount of time in your rehearsal.
That's true.
Time.
Yeah. That's actually a really quick way of getting through an hour set in 25 minutes. And you could do intro, verse 1, the double chorus at the end, and then finish.
Yeah, exactly.
It cuts the song down to about a minute and a half, maybe, max.
Yeah.
Number 4 would be my biggest bugbear,
Right.
volume. You're not performing at Wembley every time you step into the warehouse.
No.
What is the point in having it so loud that everyone's competing over top of each other and no one can hear what they're doing?
Yeah.
And think of the singers, actually, to be honest with you, it's the singer that suffers the most, because you're knackering them out when it's not a gig. You're knackering them out midweek. They've probably been working all day, and they've come straight down from work, eating some garage food on the way.
Yeah.
They're not going to be that rested, and they're having to stretch and over the top of very loud instruments.
Full band, yeah. If you're not really familiar with how voice works, voice is a very physical instrument. Obviously, it is part of your physical body, and if your body is tired, your voice is going to be tired. There's no arguing that. Like, you can't make your voice untired if you are physically drained. When you're using your full voice, as it were, like, I'm just going to use that term, that's not, completely correct, but if you're using your full bang on, this is how I gig voice when you're rehearsing, you're probably going to do yourself some damage, because you are singing for an extended period of time. Say you're singing in your rehearsal for over 2 hours. Yep. That is excessive. That's very excessive on the voice. Okay, normally you use a different tone of voice when you rehearse. Some singers refer to it as their practice voice, and it sounds a bit namby-pamby, and it's a little bit lighter. It's not as hasn't got the guts as your normal one. It probably sounds a little bit like Aled Jones, okay? Yep. And the reason is because it puts less pressure on your vocal folds, and it's easier. And sometimes you may find that sometimes a vocalist might actually just speak the words rather than sing the actual melody, because they're preserving the voice. So yeah, bring it down, because 1, how can you hear each other? And then 2, how can you hear your vocalist? And also, when people come and see you, people want to hear the words. They want to hear the voice. They want to hear the vocals. I know that everybody is equally important in a band. But, you know, what I was saying to Si earlier before we started recording is that, you know, unfortunately people don't really want to see a 20-minute drum solo. They don't want to see a guitarist going crazy. They want to hear the vocals, they want to hear the song, they want to hear the hook of the song, because guess what? They're not standing there all with a bunch of guitars or drumsticks. They're singing that, they're going to sing it back.
Yeah.
You know, it's really important.
Really, you should be at a volume where you can talk to each other while you're playing without being mic'd up. You don't want to be shouting. You want to be able to go, oh, that was the wrong chord there. You went to a flat and it should be you know.
Yeah, it's easier to communicate with each other. It's easier to understand what you're doing. And also you can hear when bits aren't right. Because if it's too loud, you just get muddied in your ears.
Yeah. You want to be able to hear all the instruments. Now, the problem is, I guess, that in a rehearsal studio, sometimes acoustic drum kits are really damn loud. There are a few things you can do about it, but it is up to the... Similar to the singer having to use his rehearsal voice, the drummer needs to be able to have a damn rehearsal.
Sit back. You don't have to play the drums as loud as you possibly can. Like, be musically appropriate. Be appropriate to the room that you're in. If you find that difficult, there are things you can use: hot rods, brushes,
drum machines.
You can use an electronic drum machine, so you've got a volume control.
Because to be honest, what you should do when you're in a gig scenario and you're managing sound is you should get the vocal the volume you want, and then bring everything up around that. The vocal shouldn't be the last thing, and it generally is the last thing amateur bands sound check. They'll check the bloody bass drum, they'll check the bass and the guitar, and finally, just about a minute before you go on, they go, right, singer, just check your microphone. Yeah,
make sure it works.
Do the singing first, and you should try and do that in a rehearsal studio, so that you can get everything mixed in. On that point, tip number 5 I would suggest is every now and again have an acoustic rehearsal.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. I like that. Yeah.
It's a really nice way, especially with the original stuff, of one, seeing if your song works. Does it hang together? If it still hangs together nicely, and you can hear all the parts better. You'll soon know if a bassist is playing the wrong note, which you might not have noticed at full volume and everyone's thing. But secondly, you can just get a bit more texture or a bit more finesse to like your different parts. Yeah,
you can work out where bits of the song are weak because they've been covered up by an effect or... Yeah,
it doesn't mean that you have to not plug anything in. If you've got a keyboard that you need for a certain sound, I suppose you could still use it. But try and think creatively about not hiding behind effects and doing it. If you get 2 or 3 songs together acoustically, then it opens up more gig opportunities as well.
It allows venues that perhaps can't cope with a full live electric band, they might be able to cope with a stripped back acoustic setup where, you know, you're basically unplugged. Maybe your drummer's not playing a kit, maybe he's just playing a cajon or a djembe or just a snare with some brushes or something.
The next tip that I would say, and this is something I've never done, but actually someone mentioned it to me recently, and it's just so obvious. I don't know really why I didn't think about it. When you do a gig, have a debrief after the gig. Not necessarily straight after the gig, because everyone's running on adrenaline, and there's nothing worse than thinking you've done a good gig and then someone bringing up something that you didn't. You don't want to be doing that. But the day afterwards, or before it's fresh in your mind, everyone writes something down that they want to, if they heard something. Because 2 things happen. One is you'll either forget it by the time you come to rehearsal, and then you never fix what the problem was, or you never fix that idea you had for making the ending better or whatever. You will forget. So write it down. Things that you want to change sometimes are quite emotionally charged, because if you're suggesting an improvement, the person who is playing it in the way that you want them to improve might feel it's a bit of a dig on them, like you played it wrong or whatever. So what you want to try and do is have a rational conversation when everyone's calmed down in between rehearsals, so people have got time to digest it and work on it and stuff. Don't wait till the rehearsal to mention it, because you'll be like, well, why didn't you mention it at the time? And then suddenly you're in a bad mood because someone sprung something on you straight away in the rehearsal, and you've put the shutters up, then you're just thinking, oh, well, he's a twat, why, you know. Well, I don't like that bit you do either, so I don't know why we need to change my bit, because your bit's crap. And then suddenly, do you know what I mean? I've been there so many times in rehearsals.
Yeah, definitely.
Take the emotive conversations outside of the room. I think if you've got a sensitive person in your band, or you really things do need improving, one nice way you can do it without
without causing too much of a picking on one person, record the gig and then all sit down when not rehearsal, just book a time to all have a beer and sit around and watch the video. And then you can all watch it back and see it, and you can all have a conversation at the same time.
So if you have a real problem with somebody in your band that you feel they could do better in a certain way and you don't know how to approach them, my biggest piece of advice would be don't approach the subject in the group of people.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Don't do that, because then it makes them feel victimized. If you have a like, this is just a general how to be an adult like
How
piece
not
of
to
advice.
be an arsehole.
Yeah, how not to be a dick. If you have a problem with somebody and you want you genuinely want them to improve, because one, it would help them, and two, it would help everybody else, just talk to them and be honest with them in person.
Try and give them a suggestion for what.
Yeah.
Shit sandwich, everybody. Remember shit sandwich
exactly,
from season
the shit
1?
sandwich. Good, bad, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember that. It will get you through life. Yeah, no, but honestly, if you say to someone, look, or even, I know this is the better way to do it, is to be like, oh, are you free such and such? Can we go through this part? I just want to go through this part with you. Let me know when you're free. One, they'll probably take you up on it, because they probably be like, yeah, I could probably do with going through that bit as well, because they're probably not in denial.
Or like, hey dude, the end of that song sounds a bit weird. Something's going on there. It might be your bass. I might be playing it wrong. Can we like
go through it?
Let's go through it and work out because something's weird's happening.
Fight.
Everyone plays stuff wrong, and everyone, it's fine.
Everybody makes
like,
mistakes.
If it's a genuine singer problem with they're not hitting the notes or they're playing it flat or the timing, that's when I'd really suggest absolutely hammering your sound down by like 50%.
It's probably a monitoring issue.
Yeah, or having an acoustic session.
Yeah.
Or even if you're the guitarist, going, okay, it sounds a bit odd. Can I just play the what I think is the vocal line on the guitar and then sing it back because I want to work out the harmony or something? Work it out that way.
Yeah. If your singer is consistently sharp or flat, it's probably monitoring.
Probably because they can't hear.
It's because they can't hear themselves. It is. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry to break it to you, bands, but it's not the singer. It's probably because you're too loud and they can't hear what they're doing. If they're sharp, it's because they can't hear themselves and they're pushing too hard, which is making the note sharp. If they're flat, it's because they've got too much of them blasting in their face, so they're backing off and it's making the notes flat.
And if you turn down and play acoustic and they're still flat, then
they need singing lessons.
Yeah, it's fine. Take it from kick them out.
No, they probably just need singing lessons if they're consistently flat. If they're like relative pitch is okay, they need more ear training probably.
Yeah, buy them an ear trumpet.
Buy them an ear trumpet.
Passive aggressively send them something about singing lessons. On that though,
the singer is always right.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, leading on very nicely to this, number 7 would be have a band leader. Like, if you haven't got a leader in your band, there's one of two things happening. Either you're in the like 1% of all bands out there who don't actually have to have one because everyone's equally on a level with each other and equally as helpful at organising stuff and being, dictatorial. Or, more than likely, you're 99% of the other bands who just are chaotic and you're going to run into ego issues pretty quick.
Yeah.
Have a band leader. It doesn't have to be the person who set up the band. It doesn't have to be the singer. It quite often is a singer.
Yeah. What we mean by that is not someone who's like the Hitler of the band. It's not the dictator. It's just somebody who keeps track of what you're doing in your rehearsal. So reeling it back in. Guys, remember we're going to do this. Remember we're doing this. And then if things go a bit wrong, like one of my suggestions for when you're, using your time constructively in the rehearsal is, what are you going to do if it accidentally goes wrong live? You got to, I know this sounds silly, but you've got to rehearse your escape plan.
Someone's got to take charge.
And somebody's got to take charge. And you have to nominate a person to do that. Because if you all decide to take charge, one of you starts going, chorus, the other one says, head, go to the head, the other one goes, end. All right, It's going to end up like a poo in a wee shop and it's just going to be terrible. So you need one person to go, right, if it all goes Pete Tong, I'm going to be the one that's going, chorus, vamp, 2, 3, and you just go to the your chorus or whatever, or you go, right, well, if it does go wrong, so and so's going to shout, I don't know, top or head or whatever, and we're just going to vamp the head until we get back into where we were.
Yeah.
Okay, and then everyone's on the same page, and you're all just looking at one person to take charge, rather than all looking at each other like lost goats in the dark, going like that, and then all just going, oh no, let's make a decision independently of one another. Maybe it'll be all right, because it won't be.
You'll naturally have a band leader emerge in any band.
Yeah.
Like someone just starts to take the role in.
Yeah.
They normally end up being the person who books the rehearsals and sorts out stuff, but they're not generally. That doesn't have to be the case. It's quite useful for the singer to be a band leader if they want to be, because they're at the front of the stage. They've got a microphone. They can dictate things a bit easier.
It's easier to communicate. Some people are better at that than others, and I have advice when it comes to that. What we do in our band, I know this sounds kind of strange, but we don't necessarily take it in turns, but we have like a kind of structure of, if this person hasn't done this, then it automatically goes to this person. So say something's gone horribly wrong. First of all, everyone will look at me. We're just going to do a little jam. And then I'll go, right, I've told you that to a bass player. He's gone, right. So he'll go to the drummer and he'll be like, we're going to do a jam. And then the drummer will go, 2, 3, 4, and then we're in the jam. So we kind of demote it through like that. What that does is it links the chain of communication through the band, so then everybody's all on the same page. It's not just me shouting at people going, nah, nah. I make sure everybody's understood what's happening. So sometimes I'll be in the middle of singing a phrase and I won't be able to command what needs to happen. And that will happen when you're a singer. You'll be like, so you have to look at the next person who's responsible in your line of,
Trying to command.
And be like, you know what I'm going to say. And they'll be like, we're going to drop the one or whatever. And they'll turn and tell the rest of the band that that's what's going to happen.
That is the point of rehearsing, folks. Because they're the sort of stuff that is absolutely the things you should be practicing and talking about in rehearsals.
If you all have a uniform way of communicating, so make sure everybody understands what the gestures mean, because I've definitely been in bands where I've been waving my hands around trying to communicate something, and everyone's like, I don't know what she was saying. You're like, great, brilliant, this has all gone so well.
I think the role of the leader is to be the best communicator. If you've got someone who's naturally fairly feisty and doesn't have much tact, probably not best to make them the band leader. They're probably the person who wants to be band leader.
Yes, that is a good point. They'll probably be the one that put themselves... Well, I think I'm the most... No, just because you're the loudest and most obnoxious person here doesn't mean that you're automatically a good leader. Did you watch that programme with Bear Grylls? And it was, oh God, it was all the athletes and famous people, and they had to go on an island. And, and the guy, he self-appointed himself a leader, was a runner, and he was like, yeah, well, I'm the most masculine, aren't I? So I'm a leader, I'm the natural leader. And he was an absolute tool. And he just... He got tired and he was like, well, I don't want to be leader anymore because I'm tired. Like, that's not how being leader works, is it? I'm sorry, I don't, I'm sure, the Prime Minister or the President was like, well, I don't want to be it anymore because I'm tired. You do it. Yeah. It doesn't work like that, does it?
If you're not sure who the leader is in your band, then you don't have to have a formal discussion about it, but I would encourage you to have a good think about it, because the bands that I've seen that split up the quickest are the ones that don't have someone really taking a grasp of it.
Yeah, definitely.
The other thing, sounds obvious, but take the time sometimes to record yourself at practice or record a gig and watch it back. Yeah. You may think what you're doing is amazing, and when you watch it back, you probably think differently.
You might be in for a shock.
Yeah, I started... It's horrible. It's horrible listening to yourself. But, man, you improve so much better. The other thing about not having been too loud in the in the rehearsal room is that you can record with a Tascam or something and pick stuff up.
Yeah, if you're too loud and you try and record yourself on your phone or a dictaphone or whatever, it's just going to be distorted.
If you're working on a new part as well, in a thing, record it. When you got something that's working, make a little recording on your phone and then email it out afterwards.
Yeah, definitely. you can use that rehearsal time to add in interest and make your overall performance better, because that ultimately, the ultimate goal, I know, as Simon mentioned earlier, like a lot of bands, you know, often don't manage to get out there gigging and stuff. You just stay in the studio kind of thing, and you know, your ultimate goal of rehearsing is to play a live show. Otherwise,
get out of the damn studio.
Yeah, why would you want to stay like in the rehearsal studio for like 3 years and never do a gig? Like the ultimate point is to be like, what is this? The rehearsal is the rehearsal of the performance. You don't have dance rehearsals. What do you think a dance rehearsal is? Okay, it's not 5, you know, ballet dancers learning how to ballet.
All dancing to different songs.
Yeah, they basically...
2 people have a dance off in the corner.
Yeah, they basically, what they do is they learn the dance, and then when they do the rehearsal, they rehearse how they're going to do it on the night. All right, so that's what it is.
Well, that leads us nicely on to point 9.
Yes.
Learn it before.
Yes.
I have been the biggest culprit of this. So I joined a band a few years ago when I really didn't have the time to be in a band. Like, I literally had no spare time, and someone pulled out and I got asked to replace the guitarist, and I joined. I just didn't have time to learn the songs, so I was turning up at practice like trying to learn them. It's such a waste of time. It pisses people off. We ended up having a big argument about it. You look like incompetent because you can't play the songs and everyone else can. Why do 3 other people have to pay £10 an hour for you to learn something when they've all put the effort in to learn it?
Yeah, it wastes your time and it wastes your money. Like, that's the thing you've got to consider is how much does a rehearsal studio cost? And, you know, the going rate for a rehearsal studio on a peak night is about
15, yeah.
Well, 15 to 18 on a premium studio.
Shows how long ago I did it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. And don't label it. If you're working on something new, I mean, there isn't stuff to say you can't bring anything new. Or if you suddenly have a great idea for an original stuff and everyone is bought into it and stuff starts happening organically, don't
shut that off.
Don't shut it off. But that's the role of a leader, to observe and go, look, actually, 10 minutes of this was really good because we've really moved it on. But the last 20 minutes, we haven't really achieved anything else. We're now just tinkering, and let's move on.
Your whole, like, say you've booked 3 hours, like that sounds like a really long time. It's taking you 30 minutes to come in and fanny around and sort your life
it's
out.
It's almost like you know what the list is. Number 10.
Stop
Loading time.
Fannying around.
Oh man, I've been in. So what? How many bands have we been in where one person's there on time, someone else is consistently 20 minutes, 30 minutes late to turn up at practice, and they're always the bugger that has 5 guitars, 3 amps, a pedal board, and wants to go for a fag as well. And you...
I haven't been for a wee. I need to just drive to the garage and get a sandwich. Why didn't you get one on the way? I was busy.
It's 50 minutes, an hour into the paid rehearsal time, and you haven't played a damn song yet.
Yeah.
And it happens. I know I'm sounding flippant, but it happens all the time. Don't bring in like a stadium tour's worth of equipment every time, every practice. That's where it comes back to the objective, right?
Yeah, exactly.
If you've got an objective to work on, probably don't need your entire pedal board that takes you 20 minutes to set up.
No. I know this sounds perhaps bizarre, but when you're finishing your rehearsal, you have to finish your rehearsal earlier than the time that you've actually...
Oh, good one. Yeah.
Because there's another band waiting to get in, bros, you know?
Yeah.
And you're eating into their time by being like, oh, well, it's a minute 2. Let's just do a song that we've got, which is actually 5 minutes long. And then this other band are like, well, we've got to get in. We've got to set up. We've got to, you know, you have to be considerate.
Also, try and be considerate to the poor old drummer. I know they're annoying as people. I know, but give them a hand, man. They've got not stuff to load in and load out. I mean, generally, it's just breakables, so they're going to have a drum kit there, probably. I don't know, I must be unlucky, but the amount of bands I've been in with a left-handed drummer.
Oh my
so
God.
If you get there on time, and you know he's going to have to move his snare drum over to the other side, just do it for him. If you're packed up, don't stand outside having a fag while the poor old drummer's got to put loads of drums in a drum bag. Just give him a hand, put it in, just be less of a knob.
Yeah,
and more helpful.
You'll find that the better equipment will come with the more you pay, basically, for a rehearsal studio, the better the equipment will be.
So that's our top 10 tips. I think we're not saying we're perfect. I've done every single one of those, but I know from experience that every single one of those, if you don't do them, holds you back and makes you a worse band.
Yeah, definitely. It will help you just streamline your rehearsals anyway. And, you know, once you've got a streamlined rehearsal and you have a plan that you're going in for, it'll just make everything so much more productive and easier.
Can I put a number 11 in brackets?
Yeah.
Leave the room to fart.
Be considerate with your bum burps.
Man, I've followed some hideous bands into rooms.
Open the door while you're loading in. Get some fresh air in there.
Yeah. Oh, singers, bring your own microphones, or at least bring some anti-bac for them. There's nothing that is a worse smell than a rehearsal room microphone.
It smells like someone's bum.
It smells like arse.
It does. Literally does. Bring anti-bac wipes if you don't have your own mic.
Sweaty dog arse.
Oh, it's horrible, isn't it? Oh. Yeah, second-hand microphones, guys. Like, this is why I don't like sharing microphones, and people will get really funny about it. But if you imagine that your lips are against this microphone, like you're basically kissing it when you use a microphone properly, and you imagine that someone else that you don't know and you've never met has probably done that before you, and then you're just about to do it, and they've still got that moist. Damn.
I can just smell it. It's now.
Yeah,
it's just,
I know. It's like when you do an open mic and the person who's providing microphones doesn't clean their microphones.
Yeah, I
they don't
always anti-bac my mics.
Yeah, sanitize your microphones, guys, because I've had throat infections and stuff before from using other people's microphones, and it's rank. And that will put you out of business if you're a singer. It really will.
It is horrid.
It is horrible.
Try it though. We'll post the tips on the Facebook page.
Yeah.
Do try it. Let us know if you disagree, and let us know if you try it and you find some benefit in it. Also, let us know.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd love to have improved some people's bands. Not because they're bad, but just like to know we're helping.
Yeah, definitely.
Good. We'll be back very shortly. Well, I say that. We'll be back when we've had time to actually record and edit.
Yeah, I'm going on holiday, sorry.
Yeah. So this is the thing, right? We're all busy doing... We need to do the gigs to get the stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
So you just got to bear with us, folks. It's good to be busy. Thanks for listening to today's show. We're going to leave you with a song, actually.
Yeah.
Thanks very much to Tender Mercies for letting us play your stuff. Go and check them out. They're on iTunes, on Facebook. Hey, drop them a message. Say you heard them and you loved them.
Tell them you want them to tour more.
Tell them you want him to tour more. Tell them you want another album. We need more stuff. I'll leave you with this one. This one's one of my favourite songs off the album. This is called Mercy.
Well, I got a feel of unrighteousness, sown with seeds of scorn and bitterness. Down the road I walk with loneliness. The mercy will follow me, I'm told. Under this skin once was a hard stone. It's growing old, so very far from home. Well, I ought to go, I may someday own. The mercy will follow me, I'm told. Mercy, will you follow me? Mercy, will you follow me? Till my final breath at last I take. Mercy, will you follow me? Mercy, will you follow me? Till the chains of this whole world I finally break. about a man whose love I never had. Well, there's a train, it's bound for Gilead. Mercy will follow me, I'm told. Mercy, will you follow me? Mercy, will you follow me? Till my final breath at last I take. Mercy, will you follow me? Mercy, will you follow me? To the chains of this old world I finally break. To the chains of this old world I finally break. To the chains of this old world I